hiding their skepticism. "You're ambitious. I'll give you that," one potential backer said, leaning back in his chair. "But this is aviation, son. It's not just about dreams. It's about capital, connections, and experience. And frankly, you don't have enough of any of those." Jordan walked out of that meeting with clenched fists and a fire in his chest. The rejection didn't break him, it fueled him. He knew what they saw. A young black man with no industry ties, trying to enter a world dominated by established players. But he also knew what they didn't see. His determination, his unyielding drive, and the spark that had carried him this far. Money wasn't the only challenge. The industry itself seemed designed to keep people like him out. Networking events were often dominated by older, wealthier white men who looked at Jordan with a mix of curiosity and dismissal. He endured subtle slights, being talked over in meetings, having his ideas dismissed only to be repeated by someone else moments later. But Jordan refused to let the setbacks define him. He leaned on what he had learned in university, refining his pitch and tailoring it to each audience. He attended every seminar, conference, and workshop he could afford, often sneaking into events when he didn't have the funds for a ticket. It was at one of these conferences that he met Captain Frank Hughes, a retired pilot with a reputation for challenging the status quo. Hughes was in his late 60s, with a gravelly voice and a no-nonsense demeanor. Jordan introduced himself after Hughes gave a talk about diversity in aviation, nervously explaining his dream to build an airline that would prioritize inclusivity. Hughes listened intently, his piercing blue eyes studying Jordan. When Jordan finished, the older man nodded slowly. "You've got guts, kid," he said. "I like that. But guts won't get you off the ground. You need strategy. You need allies. And most of all, you need to outlast them when they try to wear you down." From that day on, Hughes became Jordan's mentor. They met regularly over coffee, where Hughes shared stories of his own struggles as a pilot who had fought for equal treatment during his career. He taught Jordan how to navigate the industry's politics, how to stand his ground, and how to turn rejection into opportunity. With Hughes's guidance, Jordan began to gain traction. He secured small investments from a handful of supporters who believed in his vision. It wasn't much, but it was enough to keep going. Just as things seemed to be improving, Jordan stumbled across an article that made his heart race. The airline that had humiliated him as a child was in trouble. Legacy Airlines on the brink of bankruptcy. The headline read. The news hit him like a bolt of lightning. This was his chance, not just to enter the industry, but to make a statement. He began researching the airline's financials, studying its weaknesses, and brainstorming how he could turn it around if given the opportunity. But acquiring a failing airline was no small task. The cost alone was staggering, and Jordan's fledgling network of investors wasn't enough to cover it. He needed more money, more connections, and more time. For months, he worked tirelessly, pitching his vision to anyone who would listen. He traveled across the country, sleeping on friends' couches and eating cheap meals to save money. He attended meetings where he was dismissed as naive, endured calls that ended in rejection, and faced moments where the weight of it all threatened to crush him. Yet, through it all, he refused to give up. Late at night, when exhaustion crept in, he would close his eyes and picture that flight attendant's face, the humiliation he had felt, and the promise he had made to himself. "This isn't just about me," he would whisper to himself. "This is about proving we belong." Slowly but surely, the pieces began to fall into place. A prominent venture capitalist, impressed by Jordan's persistence, agreed to back him. A former airline executive offered to join his team as an advisor. The puzzle that had seemed impossible to solve was finally starting to come together. Jordan knew the road ahead would still be tough, but for the first time, he felt the momentum shift. He wasn't just chasing a dream anymore. He was building a movement. And with every step forward, he grew closer to proving that the skies belonged to everyone, not just a few who had tried to keep him grounded. The day Jordan Carter walked into the conference room to sign the paperwork that would make him the owner of Legacy Airlines felt surreal. He was dressed sharply in a tailored suit, his hands steady despite the gravity of the moment. Around the room, lawyers and executives murmured to one another, occasionally glancing at him. Some wore skepticism on their faces, others curiosity, but none could hide their surprise that this young, black entrepreneur had managed to pull off what no one believed he could. As Jordan put his pen to the final page, a wave of emotion surged through him. He thought of his mother, of the sleepless nights spent refining his vision, and of the boy he had been, humiliated, powerless, and dismissed. That boy had dreamed of this day, but the man he had become knew this was just the beginning. Legacy Airlines was in shambles. Its finances were a mess, its reputation tarnished by years of poor customer service and outdated practices. Taking control of the airline wasn't just a victory, it was a daunting challenge. From the moment the deal was finalized, Jordan dove headfirst into the work. He held meetings with department heads, analyzing every aspect of the airline's operations. The issues were overwhelming. Outdated planes, low employee morale, and a customer base that had long since lost faith in the brand. But Jordan had a plan. The first order of business was rebranding. He renamed the airline Phoenix Air, symbolizing rebirth and a new era. The name alone sparked interest, but it was the changes he implemented that truly began to turn heads. Jordan introduced mandatory diversity and inclusion training for all employees, from executives to flight attendants. He revamped customer service protocols, ensuring passengers felt heard and respected at every step of their journey. Behind the scenes, Jordan worked tirelessly to overhaul operations. He negotiated deals to modernize the fleet, prioritizing fuel-efficient planes that would reduce costs and appeal to environmentally conscious travelers. He streamlined scheduling systems, cutting delays, and improving efficiency. But change wasn't easy. Jordan faced criticism from all sides. Industry veterans doubted his ability to lead such a massive turnaround. He's too young, they said in interviews. He doesn't understand how this industry works. Former employees of Legacy Airlines bristled at his leadership, accusing him of trying to do too much too fast. The media wasn't much kinder. Headlines alternated between praise for his bold vision and skepticism about his chances of success. Can a 27-year-old outsider save a dying airline? One article asked. Jordan didn't let it faze him. He had faced doubt and discrimination his entire life. This was just another obstacle to overcome. As Phoenix Air began to take shape, customers started to notice the difference. Flights ran on time. Staff were friendlier, more attentive. Jordan personally led efforts to engage with passengers, holding town hall-style meetings where people could voice their concerns and ideas. He implemented policies that prioritized comfort and accessibility, ensuring that every traveler felt valued. The airline's new tagline, "Soaring Together," quickly became a rallying cry. It wasn't just about flying. It was about creating an experience that brought people together, no matter their background. The changes began to pay off. Revenue slowly climbed, bolstered by an influx of new customers drawn to the airline's fresh approach. Social media buzzed with stories of passengers who had flown with Phoenix Air and noticed a difference. "It feels like they actually care," one viral post read, accompanied by a photo of a smiling flight attendant helping an elderly passenger. But Jordan's triumph wasn't just about profits. It was about proving a point. He had taken an industry that had once humiliated him and transformed it into something better, something that reflected his values. One of the most significant moments came during an industry conference where Jordan was invited to speak. Standing on the stage in front of hundreds of executives, many of whom had dismissed him in the past, he spoke passionately about the importance of diversity, inclusion, and innovation in aviation. "The skies don't belong to the powerful few," he said, his voice steady and resolute. "They belong to all of us. And it's our responsibility to ensure that everyone, no matter where they come from, what they look like, or how much money they have, feels welcome and valued when they fly." The room erupted into applause. Even those who had doubted him couldn't deny the impact he was making. Year under Jordan's leadership, The airline had not only stabilized but was beginning to thrive. Profits were up, customer satisfaction ratings had soared, and the airline was being hailed as one of the most innovative carriers in the industry. Jordan knew the battle wasn't over. The aviation world was cutthroat, and staying on top would require constant effort. But as he walked through the bustling terminals of Phoenix Air's flagship airport, watching families board planes with smiles on their faces, he felt a deep sense of pride. He had done what many thought was impossible. He had rewritten the rules of the game, proving that passion, resilience, and a clear vision could triumph over even the most entrenched barriers. The skies were his now, and he was determined to keep them open for everyone. Years later, Jordan Carter stood in the bustling terminal of Phoenix Air's headquarters, watching passengers board their flights. Families laughed, couples held hands, and children's eyes sparkled with excitement, just as it had all those years ago. The airline he had rebuilt wasn't just a company. It was a symbol of hope, resilience, and change. Jordan's vision extended beyond profits. He established scholarships for underprivileged youth and mentorship programs for aspiring entrepreneurs, ensuring the next generation would have the opportunities he had fought so hard to create. One day, during a visit to a regional office, he encountered someone he never expected: the flight attendant who had humiliated him all those years ago. She was older now, her demeanor softened by time and regret. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice trembling, "for everything." Jordan looked at her for a moment, then smiled. "I forgave you a long time ago," he said, "but I hope you've learned that even the smallest actions can leave lasting scars and sometimes inspire great change." As she walked away, Jordan felt a sense of closure. His journey wasn't about revenge. It was about transformation. This is the story of a boy who rose from humiliation to revolutionize the skies, proving that determination and vision can rewrite even the most painful narratives. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more inspiring tales of resilience, redemption, and triumph, subscribe to my channel for more stories that will leave you inspired